JDF doesn't get respect as the greatest of all time Power Ranger. Really? Next up on Just the Talk Show, let's talk about it. And welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks. And I am your humble host, Nova718. And we're gonna get right into this video. I'm still high off the Once and Only series. I've actually watched it 3 times. I'm surprised I didn't watch it more, but that's a lot considering what I should be watching, especially for this channel and all the shows that I really wanted to watch, but I kind of want to watch it with you so you can get my first impressions. But with Once and Always, which was so near and dear to my heart, was that was probably one of the last franchises that I had this kid romance with growing up. That was very major to me creatively as well. So I really have a high appreciation for what the Power Rangers was, the aesthetics, even its origin. I gotta watch the Sentai series too. When I say the origin, just the original designs coming from the Sentai footage. And I like what they did with Once and Always, especially coming from a kid growing up watching these characters. So I saw a video that was put up, and it was a great video of JDF clips where the guy was asking a question, or not really asking a question, but felt like he needed to put his foot down and represent, because JDF doesn't get the respect as the greatest Ranger of all time. And I like how he qualified it, not your favorite, because everybody's gonna have favorite Rangers, but he's saying he's basically objectively the greatest Ranger of all time. You could argue that down, but then when you want to have the barometer of great is more than just the strongest, more than just like considered the most popular, or just, you know what I mean? It's a composite of all of that, everything that goes with it, from acting to the storylines to powers, skill set, etc. And I don't think that JDF gets the respect that he deserves. Psych. Watching the video of the guy talking about it, feeling like he needed to beat it down that once and for all. And in my head was like, because I actually was in the comments, and it was like, dope video, because it was a dope video of a montage of a lot of what JDF has done on screen as a character, Tommy Oliver, without question. And it was a great video, but in my head was like, who is this for? Like, no one's ever said that. No one's ever said that Tommy was not the greatest Ranger of all time. Even people that do not like him, because I even said in the comments, I was like, unless people, only time I've ever heard anyone had any discrepancy towards Tommy was more like the actor, and that's usually juxtaposed against the real issue he had with Jason. But if we take the person, or ASJ and JDF out of the question and just say the character Tommy Oliver, let's be for real, he's only questionably the best Red Ranger. That's because most people feel that Boston St. John's, Jason, the character Jason, was the greatest Red Ranger of all time because he was the first, etc. So when you really think about it, who's never, the only question around Tommy was him as the Red Ranger, and at best him as JDF, and that was very seldom. So even those questionable attributes, that wasn't really a thing enough to even really go against him being the greatest Ranger of all time. So to be quite honest, when people argued and you bring Tommy out, he has the Master Morpher, which wasn't really canonized, at least I don't think, unless it was in that comic. But needless to say, they give Tommy everything. They write him the best. They've literally went out of their way to make him the greatest Ranger, since he was so popular. And the other Rangers that would have probably even been contenders that was there even before him never got the character development because the writers never wanted to, and they only focused on the Red Ranger. And let's be for real, when he left with the other two Rangers, the series was completely different. So they leaned everything onto Tommy. All of a sudden, Tommy and Zed had this personal thing, and it was never personal, really. He was just another villain. At best, you would argue Jason would have wanted to go see Zed, because he was the Red Ranger and the leader. But once Tommy came in as a White Ranger, and they went out of their way to say he's the new leader, and when the other first three left, the gate was wide open. All you had was Kimberly, and Billy. The only thing that Tommy had going for him was he once was the evil Green Ranger, which was kind of spicy at the time, and he had the special trimming, gold trimming, so he looked special. And every Ranger, first two Ranger suits before he went red, all was like the sixth Ranger who always had this added thing to them. So he was basically always came in as a standout, and everything they done since his popularity came, they added towards him. So he's never been without character development. He is the most developed character ever, and he came back for another season. And I remember watching another channel where dudes was kind of like talking about how the other Rangers kind of never really were big for anything else other than being a Ranger, while bigging up the Green Ranger. And in my head was like, I mean, no disrespect to JDF, but that's all he had. He wasn't an actor. You know, he never tried to act outside of Power Rangers. Nikhil Burris shows up in commercials. These are working actors that might not have been known for anything bigger. So the way that they was trying to like juxtapose JDF to the other ones was that the only reason why they're around now is because they didn't really blow up. And it was like, the only reason why JDF never left was because he never blew up as nothing else as the Green Ranger. At least the other actors had other opportunities. JDF, his only other opportunities for any other series was within Saban, because it was just that. So it was no surprise that he fought hard for Saban, and Saban leaned on him. And let's be real, he's never had an issue with payment. He's never talked about having issues with being treated badly by Saban. So let's be for real, he wasn't treated the same as the other Rangers who end up leaving due to money issues, financial reasons. Because remember, they brought Tommy back because he was a favorite. So when you needed someone in an ununionized series to carry the franchise, who do you think was going to get top billing in terms of payment, money, and everything? Now, to be fair, no one's ever said that he got paid more than anyone else, but all the ones that had left Mighty Morphin talked about money. JDF never spoke about money. The only time he spoke about money was the other Rangers that had left. So when I hear fans talk about him, in my head, you're more likely to throw the other Rangers underneath the bus as fans. I would more see fans reading comments and stuff as opposed to anyone saying anything disrespectful about JDF anyway. And if it did, it was more about JDF, not Tommy Oliver. To get to the point of it all, is Tommy Oliver the character JDF played? Or rather, as I've even labeled it, JDF not seen as the GOAT, the greatest of all time Power Ranger. Who's ever argued that? I don't know. My thing is why is that even put up as an argument? Why did you need to say it? It was just, and I understood what it was. That's your favorite Ranger, and because he's your favorite and he's objectively gotten more story arcs, more helmets, more all of that, and they've even said that even as a White Ranger, he was the most powerful Ranger even at that moment. And as the evil Green Ranger, who got boosted up with evil powers and with the sword and all of that, he came in as greater than the other Rangers. Then, was this even a conversation? So all my brothers and sisters out there that feel the need to scream out from the top of the heavens, so all those who do not find JDF's character as Tommy Oliver their favorite, they know that he is seen as the greatest and is the greatest Power Ranger of all time because they made it so. He was written that way. You know what I'm saying? He was written that way. And you can argue that with any character, so I'm not even going to do that to play JDF. He is. My thing, and the reason why I pick up the writing that way is because I've seen them go out of their way to dumb down one Ranger very particularly in the comics, even when his character never got that type of love, but he was good on his own, can get down with all of them, and they go out of their way to write him dumbed down. And to a lesser extent, you can say another Ranger too, in a way, and that was, to be honest, just as skilled, if not, you might argue, more skilled than JDF, but his character wasn't written to be better than anyone else, but maybe just underneath Tommy. You could tell that if they didn't have Tommy, they would work with him. And that was Adam's character, Johnny Young Bosch. They did more with him than any other Ranger. And mind you, Johnny Young Bosch, I don't think had the most amount of episodes clocked in, the second most, because Tommy had that. That was Billy. And we knew what Billy was, so Billy wasn't written to be a warrior. So they went with, they tried to bring Jason's, ASJ's character back, and he did. He came back as Gold Ranger, so he was mirroring the Green Ranger. But when he ended up leaving again, he ended up leaving to, because he signed up to be a paramedic, army paramedic, if I'm not mistaken. So he went overseas. So, and then he left Power Rangers in his rear view. He came back one more time for a Forever Red episode, and even then, when they bring him back, they always try to write him to be just as good as Tommy, if not his mirror image. So the argument will always be who's the best Ranger. If not, they would at least say Jason is the greatest Red Ranger of all time and give him that, just so they could mirror each other as who's the greatest Rangers of all time. To the point that they've even written the Omega Rangers, not so much just to explain what happened to the three that left. No, it was really to level up Jason and to explain why Jason was no longer the leader. And even the guy that wrote it said that because it always sat wrong with him, how they just passed him over without no explanation, which I respect. So why can't we give those explanations to the other Rangers that have left as well? And they kind of did with the Omega Rangers, but at the expense of at least one of those Rangers. And I'm not going to say his name because we've talked about it before, and I don't want to make it about him. But by noticing how they write other Rangers in the comics, and how if they'll switch up the powers, of some Ranger colors had to get bent. If someone had to be pink, they made sure that it was not Jason. They'll give that to any other Ranger, but not Jason, because they don't want to mess with his image. When you do stuff like that to go out your way to dumb down characters, then to me, it just shows who they're writing the series for. And who's getting the top billing. Mind you, they threw characteristics to a character that was based off a series that was completely unlike what they were doing with the character in the comic. And it was more to his expense, but to give more dramatic cues, and all the dramatic cues and all the other ones to other characters that you could tell that were more in favor. So again, I get that JDF is your favorite Ranger, but the argument of him being the greatest of all time is kind of non-existent. He is been written to be that way without any type of opposition outside of him being the greatest Red Ranger of all time. And you could argue that to be Jason, who has been billed as the greatest Red Ranger of all time. Otherwise, not really an argument, not really a beef. Even for those that feel like JDF wasn't their favorite Ranger, everybody gives him his respect. Look at the series. They, especially after the 3 left, it was just basically his show of Mighty Morphin till they found their way to Zeo, and they were able to really make these other characters stand on their own without having to be in the shadow of that, wearing the costume of others that came before it. That, let's be for real, they were better as Mighty Morphin because they were the first. But the new guys that came in villains or to replace them, they didn't started to shine on their own till they went to Zeo. But who's the greatest Ranger of all time? Come on, man. We already know. And may JDF rest in peace. But leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you get where I'm coming from? Do you notice a lot of people always want to create this conversation of who's the greatest Ranger? Leave in the comments below and let me know what you guys think. And let me know how you feel about it. And do you feel that it is needed to have to go out and shout from the rooftops, JDF is the greatest Ranger of all time? When, look at the series, they went out of their way to make sure that he got top billing. So was there ever a doubt? Leave it in the comments below. And you already know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, time for a better outro. Chill.